Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Well, nothing says Bible study like the flavor and variety of Daily Dose Radio. I'm so glad you joined me today. Today we're looking at the second half, and all this week actually, we're looking at the second half of Psalm 104. And the second half of Psalm 104 is a great deal like the first half. We have it kind of laid out in the same manner. We're talking about the creation again this week. Of course, we don't have the beginning of the psalm, which is "Bless the Lord, O my soul." We do have that statement, but it comes at the very end of the psalm. So it'll be the end of this half. We'll have it again. So the book ends. We're talking about creation, so we're going to look at Genesis chapter 1 quite a bit this week, and Exodus, actually. There's a place in here that will take us back to the book of Exodus. There are 3 parts. You could probably divide this psalm into 3 sections, because there are 3 verses that nicely conclude those sections. Verse 24, verse 31, and verse 35. Verse 24 is just this beautiful explosion of praise, and so verse 31 is the same. And then verse 35, which ends the psalm with "Bless the Lord, O my soul," and then we have the addition of "Praise ye the Lord," or the word hallelujah, right at the very end. So we have these beautiful expressions of praise which sort of break the psalm for us, at least the second half of the psalm, into these nice sections. Now, I, of course, divide the psalm into 5 parts, or this half of the psalm into 5 parts, because I'm teaching it throughout the week, 5 days. And so today we're going to look at verses 18 through 21. Again, kind of a big section, but I think it'll be worth our time to look at those 4 verses. They kind of lie together very nicely. Verse 18, "The high hills are a refuge for the wild goats, and the rocks for the conies. He appointed the moon for seasons, the sun knoweth his going down. Thou makest darkness, and it is night, wherein all the beasts of the forest do creep forth. The young lions roar after their prey, and seek their meat from God." So that's verses 18 through 21. Remember, at the end of the first half, we were talking about all that God had created and the way in which God's hand was caring for his creation. He made waters to spring up out of the ground for all the beasts to drink from, to quench their thirst. That's where the birds made their nests, and so forth. Now, the conies are in the rocks. Who did that for the conies? The Lord did. The high hills are a refuge for the wild goats. Who did that for the wild goats? The Lord did. He appointed the moon for seasons, the sun knoweth his going down. Now we have a break here, or a change, I guess I should say, here in this section, because this takes us right back to Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. In verse 14, and I'll ask if you have a minute to go back and look at Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. That's when God made the sun and the moon and appointed them for seasons, so that man would know the changing of seasons. And then verse 20, "Thou makest darkness, and it is night." So verse 5 of Genesis chapter 1 talks about the creation of night and day. So here we're having a reference that goes right back to verse 20, or right back to Genesis chapter 1, verse 5, here in verse 20. And then what happens at night? Well, this is what the Lord has done. He has made the night so that the young lions can come out. They'll seek their meat from God. They roar after their prey in the evening. And, of course, we're going to continue that next time in 22 through 24. We talk about the sun rising and the beasts go into their holes and man comes out to work. So there's this beautiful cycle that the psalmist gives us between night and day, and this is a part of God's handiwork. Okay, well, I hope you'll join me tomorrow as we look at verses 22 through 24 on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.